Let's begin with Fox 12's Bonnie Silkman. And Bonnie, I understand you spoke with a former assistant police chief who knows what goes into planning for something like this. And what did you find out tonight?
Well, Liz, that's right. Good evening. You know, everyone seems to be talking about these potentially violent protests that are unfolding here in Portland tomorrow. The demonstrations are set to kick off right here at the Portland waterfront, and this is where we're finding these new concrete barriers. Police say this is an effort to keep those two opposing groups away from each other as long as possible, an effort to keep the peace and avoid the violence that we've seen here in the past.
Portland has evolved to a place where people seem to feel like they can do whatever they want at these protests. I have been right down there with them, watching people spit on them and call them every name in the book.
As Portland's former assistant police chief and the leader of the Bureau's rapid response team, Brian Martinek knows exactly what it's like to be here, smack in the middle of a chaotic Portland protest.
It's very emotional, it's stressful beyond belief. It can be scary, and you have thousands of people yelling and screaming and moving towards you, all with the intent of either breaking through you, running over you, or hurting you.
Martinek says over the years, the feel of these demonstrations has shifted.
Designed to terrorize and to intimidate and to taunt. They've gotten more violent.
But the former officer of 27 years also senses a new attitude from our city leaders.
It sounds like there might be more focus on actually arresting those people that are causing violence. They are going to do strategical tactics that take into account not ever leaving a police officer alone in a situation where they could be outnumbered and overwhelmed. Obstacle diversion, crowd control measures.
As the city of Portland braces for yet another round of potentially violent protests, we're seeing this new wall of concrete barriers stretching down a half-mile, an attempt to keep these two groups separated for as long as possible.
It will have a psychological effect that will help with keeping the groups apart for as long as there isn't the crowd and mob mentality that gets to the point where it boils over, and then it's going to take more than that.
Martinek expects to see arrests and violence on Saturday, as well as a bigger police response and a more hands-on approach, which he says could act as a double-edged sword.
I think that's going to attract some people that are going to want to challenge that. Let's challenge authority, and authority just threw down the gauntlet. Let's see what they got, and I think you're going to get that.
The former officer also says tomorrow during these protests, you will see Portland police speaking to demonstrators, different leaders, different groups. Now, this isn't to pick a side. This is to keep lines of communication open. And this is something Portland police really reiterated today. Also, if you're not planning on attending these protests, you're asked to avoid this area. But if you do walk by and you hear Portland police using the loudspeaker, you're asked to stop, be aware of your surroundings, and listen to what they have to say and listen to their commands. It's all to help keep you safe. Reporting live from the waterfront tonight, Bonnie Silkman, Fox 12 Oregon.